Okay, we're going to create our panels that go on our page, and we're going to make sure that we're making evenly spaced gutters. So this part in between the panels is called the gutter. The area around the outside is called the page margin. And these boxes are each panels. Now your piece is going to be, everybody's piece is going to be a little different because some might have 3, some might have 5, some might have 12. I've seen quite a few panels. People have gone up with a lot of numbers, so that's perfectly fine. So this is how we're going to start. You're going to make a new page, File New, in Illustrator. You're going to make it your name. And it's going to be 8.5 inches. So always make sure that you have your inches selected before, and then put 8.5, portrait orientation, create. Okay, so there's my page. Now you can see I don't have any of those lines on here yet, and I don't even have any rulers. So to turn the rulers on and off, we press Command R, or you can go to View, Rulers, Show. So then it shows you the key command, Command R. Command R will turn it on, Command R will turn it off. Okay, so I want to do Command R, and that's where I'm going to pull the guides out. So they are marked 0 to 1 inches. So the middle of that is 1/2 inch. So if I zoom up to that area, pressing the space and command key, I can drag a guideline out of the ruler. So I just hover my mouse in there, and it doesn't even matter what tool I'm using. I just hover the mouse, but I'm going to put it on the selection tool because I'm going to use that in a minute. So I'm going to hover, I'm going to drag, and you'll see a guideline coming out of there. And I'm going to line it up on the left side ruler at 1/2 inch. And it's going to make a blue line. And then I'm going to pull a guide out of the left ruler, and I'm going to line it up with the top ruler at 1/2 inch. And that is my margin for that corner. And then I'm just going to zoom into this corner here, and I'm going to pull. Now this isn't going to mark 1/2 inch because it is showing, well, it is, it's right here, but this is 11. And so right here is 1/2 inch. So I'm going to pull the line down to 1/2 inch right here. And I'm going to pull a guideline out of the ruler. You just click inside the gray or the black box in the ruler, like right where all those numbers are. Don't click on the lines because that might move the ruler. And then I'm going to find the 1/2 inch. So this is 8.5. So I'm going to go back because it says 1/2 right here. I'm going to go back to 8 because it's an 8.5 wide. So if I put my line on 8, then it's a 1/2 inch in. So now I have 1/2 inch margins. Now you can grab these rulers anytime, or these guides anytime. I actually had it set for lot guides. So, whoops. So you can lock the guides by going View, Guides, Unlock Guides, or Lock Guides. I have mine locked right now, so you should lock them. Now I can't move them. They're stuck in place, and so I won't accidentally move them away. So now I'm going to draw my boxes. I'm going to go to my color, and I'm going to make the fill none. I'm going to make the stroke, the black line, a black line. And up here, it says stroke right here. I'm making it 1 point. You can make it 2 point if you want to. It depends on how thick you want the lines. I would just probably start with 1 point. So now I'm going to use the box. I mean the square, rectangle. So it's the tools, the shape tools, and I'm using the rectangle tool. And I'm just going to draw a square. I'm just going to draw it like this. I'm just going to make a square. I'm going to hold the shift key and draw a perfect square. And I'm going to make it about 2.5 inches just because I want to show you how this works. So I'm going to let go of my mouse first, then the shift key. So I have a perfect square. Then I'm going to use my selection tool, and I am going to duplicate this by, I'm going to move it over so it's 1/4 inch away. So I made it 2.5 inches. And I can see that this is 3/4, so this is 3 inches right here. That's 1/4 of an inch, right? From 3/4 to 3 inch. So you're going to make it approximately 1/4 of an inch. So I'm just going to click on my square. You have to click on the line because it's filled with none. And I'm going to hold the Option key. I'm going to start dragging to the right, and I'm also going to hold Shift. So that makes it go straight. So I'm going to put it over so that it's approximately 1/4 of an inch. So the space in between here is, it moved, but you can see that it is approximately 1/4 of an inch. Okay, then I'm going to duplicate it because I moved it. When I press Command D, it's going to duplicate my action, which is going to be to copy and move this rectangle or square the same distance that I moved it from there. So if I press Command D, it moves, it copies and moves it exactly the same amount of space away. So now I have my 3 rectangles. I'm going to do the same thing with these. So anytime I drag using the selection tool around the square, any part of the squares, right? It selects all of them. I am now going to press Option, going to grab it on the corner. You can see that when I touch it, it makes a double arrow. I'm going to start dragging downward, and I'm going to add Shift to keep it straight. And I'm going to move it 1/4 of an inch down. So I'm eyeballing this, but see how that is exactly about the same as the first one I made. I want my gutters to be even. So the key is to make the gutters even. And then I press Command D, and now I have 9 equally spaced squares. And you might see that optical illusion where it makes a little gray circle in the middle. It's doing it on my screen. I don't know if it's doing it on yours, but it's not really there. Okay, so now I am going to set this up. You can do however many you need. So if you need to make smaller boxes because you need 12 or 15 or however many you need, start out making smaller boxes. Okay, but I'm just going to make 9, and I'm going to show you how you can change them while still keeping the gutters even. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to use my direct selection tool, which is the white arrow. And that one, remember, lets you select a point or a line and drag it. If I don't hold the Shift key, I can drag it in different directions. If I hold the Shift key, it'll keep it straight. Okay, so that's very useful for this because I can take the bottoms of these and I can just select over top of just the bottom parts of the line. And what that does is it selects these anchor points only. And these are highlighted, but they're not selected. You can see that they're have like a little white dot in the middle, and these are solidly colored in. I'm going to click on the line, that path, and I'm going to start dragging downward, and it could move. Then I'm going to add Shift so it stays straight, and I'm going to pull that to the bottom. Now, I don't want these really long things, right? So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to move. I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it so that the top part is about 1/3 of the way down. So I'm going to select this and this, and it's going to move all of these together. So I'm going to touch that line and I'm going to hold Shift and I'm dragging downward. Okay. And then I can drag just this line. If I just select just this line, I can drag it to however I want it. And I can play around with those and kind of get a general sense of how they're going to be set up. So I don't want 9 panels, but this is a good way to start out. And I'm going to make this 1 and 2, and I'm going to leave this as 3. So I'm going to delete 2 of these, but I'm going to use my direct selection because I want to select the whole box. And I'm clicking on just the line with my direct or my regular selection tool and deleting them. So now I can use my direct selection and I can drag this path all the way over. Remember to hold the Shift key to keep it straight. Now I have it all the way to my margin. So you're going to keep the outside edges of your boxes at your margin. And whoops, I didn't do that with this. Uh-oh. Let's just move those over. When I move the panels, I didn't put them to the edge. They should all be at the edge like that. And notice that when I'm moving them, I'm keeping this gutter the same. So I'm keeping all the gutters the same space. If you mess that up, you can always fix them later, but I think it's easier to just kind of grab the lines and shift them around. So now I want this to be 2 panels. So I'm going to use my direct selection and click on this and delete it. Then I'm going to, oops, nope, that's not what I want to do. I want to do the end one because that will keep the gutters here together. And then I'm going to use my direct selection. I'm going to take this and drag it, holding the shift key to the end. So this is still spaced the same. And then I can just surround the gutter and the corners that are associated with the gutter. And I can move this panel however I need it to be moved. If I want it to be really skinny on this side, I can move it over that way or this way or this way. I can make them even, however I want to do it. Okay. And then the last one I'm going to leave as 3 panels. And I can also do the same thing where I can decide if I want to make 2 panels different sizes. So I can kind of move that over and maybe I'll divide these 2 panels evenly. So I'm just surrounding the corners here and the corners there so that when I grab the line or I grab the points, that it's going to only just move that. And I'm holding the shift key to keep it straight because I don't want it to do that. But maybe I do. So if I want to make an angle or something like that, maybe I don't want this to be so, that's a little skinny, but it has its purpose, right? Maybe you're just showing someone peeking through a doorway and that's all you need. So it really depends on your panels. You can also change the height, right? If I want this to be like a really big, important panel, I might do this. Oops, I wasn't holding the shift key. So I'll grab this by the line, move it down, and maybe I'll reshape these so that they're kind of the same and let that be a really big, important panel. And you can rearrange them however you like. What if I want a little slant? What if I'm trying to get something to kind of lead in and jump into this box? Maybe I might want to slant this. So I can select these, just the top, not the bottom, just the top 2. And then I can grab a corner and I hold my shift key and I can make an angled gutter, but it's still keeping the gutter in the same distance apart right here. Right. And then if I want to move it around more, I can grab both of them and I can move it up and down to wherever I need it to be. So those are some of the ways that you can set up your gutter. It's going to be different for all of you because everybody has different number of panels, but that's the final look that you should have. You are going to save this file. Remember, it's saved as your name graphic novel page. I forgot to add that on here, but the original one I did Keneally graphic novel page. So this is gonna ultimately become your graphic novel page. So this is your setup, and that's gonna go in the setup assignment. And you are going to save it as your Illustrator file. So make sure you do File, Save, and make sure you choose Save on your computer. And then put it in your Creative Cloud files. And I needed to name this graphic novel page. And I'm putting it in my Creative Cloud files on my computer and saving it as that. And then that's where you're going to go find the file to turn it into the Canvas assignment.